In the new iPhone 6s, there are two CPU manufacturers. One is TSMC, and the other is Samsung. Surprisingly, these two CPUs perform differently, which is weird since they both got the same exact designs from Apple. And if you're like me, you're wondering why is there a difference between them at all? They should essentially be the same CPU. Well, here's why. On a standard Intel i-series CPU, there's over 1 billion transistors, and to fit so many transistors on a tiny 2.5 centimeter squared box, the transistors have to be made super tiny. In fact, they are nanometers tiny, such as in the TSMC model of the A9 CPU, the transistors are 16 nanometers wide. To put that in perspective, a single silicon atom is 0.2 nanometers in size. The Samsung transistors, though, are smaller than the TSMC ones at 14 nanometers. And that 2 nanometer difference may not sound like much, but it adds up through those 1 billion transistors to such a big difference that the Samsung CPU is a full 8.5 millimeters squared smaller than the TSMC version. The problem with using a smaller construction is that the resistance is higher. It's just like in a wire. If the wire is thin, then the resistance is high. Just like how if the transistor is tiny, the resistance is high. And because the resistance is higher, more current is transformed into heat. And if more current is transformed into heat, there's less current coming out at the end of the logic gate. And you can't have output current differ between the two processors because that'll screw up the calibration for every other component inside the phone. So to counteract this, Samsung puts more current into the logic gate so that even if some is lost, the output will stay the same between the TSMC and Samsung A9 versions. And because Samsung is putting more current in, it is using more battery life. So it's because of this 2 nanometer difference that the Samsung CPU wastes way more battery life than the TSMC version. So then the question becomes, why doesn't Samsung just make their transistors bigger so every iPhone is equal and every consumer is happy? Well, once Samsung's machines that are used to make the transistors are set and they are made to make a certain kind of transistor of a certain size, they only make that transistor. There is no prompt that asks you to input the size of the transistor that you want. The machine is made to construct 14 nanometer transistors, and it will only make that 14 nanometer transistor day in, day out. So this is why the two A9 CPUs are different and why they bench differently. Now their speed, how much processing they can do, is not affected because they're both working off the same design with the same FinFET transistors. The main discrepancy is in the battery life. I hope this video helped you. Remember to like if you like this video, and subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're interested in this kind of stuff, you should check out my Building a CPU Out of Transistors project. Bye.